Hey folks, Jordan with the Young Turks and TYT Politics. I hope you are well. As you can see, I'm in my favorite location of the airport. I am between flights right now. I will be going to Standing Rock, North Dakota. My flight leaves in about an hour and 15 minutes. I'm in Chicago right now, and I've been actively trying to get you better update on what's been going on there. Obviously, in situations like this, there's a lot of information that is out there. A lot of it, although people have good intentions, is inaccurate and tends to be not right. I kind of operate by not really trying to be first with news, but trying to be right with news. I'd much rather be out second, third, fourth with news and make sure it's factual than rush to get something out and it isn't factual. So that's the deal there. Now, obviously, 2 nights ago, there was a big standoff between oil police, and that's what they are, the oil police. They're not police. They are police that protect the oil company. So I'm going to call them what they are, which is oil police. There was a big standoff between the oil police and water protectors on the bridge right next to camp. We saw hundreds of people at this point were injured. You had mass hypothermia. You had gunshot wounds to the head on one gentleman, which we captured in our video. The rubber bullets, but if you're shot point blank in the head by a rubber bullet, you can get killed. So that gentleman was very lucky to be alive. And there's also a young girl, she's 21 years old, from New York City. Her name is Sophia. Let me get the last name, Wolansky. Sophia Wolansky her arm was basically nearly ripped off by a police-fired grenade. And she was transported to a Minnesota hospital. There was a lot of information going around the internet, people saying, her arm was amputated and this and that. I avoided saying that because, frankly, I'm not going to report something like that unless I have confirmation from a medical professional, from family, something like that. So I do have confirmation right now what the situation is. Her father issued a statement just now, actually. So again, 21-year-old, she came from New York City to Standing Rock to fight with the water protectors. She cares about the environment, and her life is really just getting started, a 21-year-old. And I posted on my Facebook yesterday, there's multiple pictures I have, but I chose to only post one of them because I believe they're too gruesome to show the majority of them. So I'm going to read you the update from her father. The father's name is Wayne Wolansky. At around 4:30, after the police hit the bridge with water cannons and rubber bullets and pepper spray, they lobbed a number of concussion grenades, which are not supposed to be thrown at people directly, at protesters or protectors as they want to be called. A grenade exploded right as it hit Sophia in the left forearm, taking most of the undersurface of her left arm with it. Both her radial and ulnar artery were completely destroyed. Her radius was shattered and a large piece of it is missing. Her medial nerve is missing a large section as well. All of the muscle and soft tissue between her elbow and wrist were blown away. The police did not do this by accident. It was an intentional act of throwing it directly at her. Additionally, police were shooting people in the face and the groin, intending to do the most possible damage. Sophia will have surgery again tomorrow, as bit by bit they try to rebuild a somewhat functioning arm and hand. The first surgery took a vein from her leg, which they have implanted in her arm, to take the place of the missing arteries. She will need multiple surgeries to try to gain some functional use of the arm and hand. She will be, every day for the foreseeable future, fearful of losing her arm and hand. There are no words to describe the pain of watching my daughter cry and say she was sorry for the pain she caused me and my wife. I died 1,000 deaths today and will continue. I died 1,000 deaths today and will continue to do so for quite some time. I am left without the right words to describe the anguish of watching her look at her now alien arm and hand. So that was from Wayne Wolanski, who is her father. I'm going to kind of sum up the most important parts. Obviously, I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to try to pretend to explain to you what different arteries are and these kinds of things. I will post this whole statement to my Facebook page. That's Jordan Sheridan on Facebook. So don't worry about it. I'll post it right after I'm done with this. She had surgery yesterday in Minnesota. I don't know the name of the hospital. At this point, they have not amputated her arm, which is a good thing. I want to make a few things clear. Number one, the Morton County Sheriff, to cover up the fact that they are committing war crimes. That's what these are. These are war crimes. They are saying that it was protesters. It was protesters who fired off propane or something like that ended up lacerating her arm. There's no evidence for this at all. I go by the common sense test. That does not make any sense. Why would protesters or protectors, which is what I call them, why would they try to blow off the arm of one of their own? That makes no sense. It's complete BS. And this continues a pattern of Morton County Police, North Dakota Police, with the aid of out-of-state police that come in to help them, with the aid of Governor Jack Dalrymple, who has essentially gave them a wink and a nod, said, do whatever you got to do. They are literally gunning people down. They are trying to freeze people to death. These are all unarmed people. There's no video that I have seen where there's water protectors firing off shots of guns at police. The only video we have is these oil police. These oil police are firing off freezing cannons of water in 20-degree weather. They're shooting people with rubber bullets and now firing off grenades, which, even if her arm is not amputated, if I'm being honest, it's very unlikely she'll have even half a use of an arm. And this is a 21-year-old who is unarmed and basically standing up for what she believes in. You know, even in war, there are rules against tear gas and pepper spray and chemical weapons like this. And this is a war zone. The problem is it's not being covered as such. Now, I want to point something out. If in Baltimore or Ferguson, when you had every network news, cable news, reporter, and anchor down there, correctly so, by the way, when you had the Freddie Gray story or Michael Brown in Ferguson, if one of the protesters there had his arm blown off by police and possibly had to have it amputated, you better damn well believe that the president would do something and the mainstream media would be covering it 24/7. So the fact is, in situations like Baltimore or Ferguson or urban areas, it seems that the media is all over it. And if police do wrong, you better believe they're going to be all over it. But here, when it's an oil company involved and when it's Native Americans involved, oh, barely a mention. And I've been tweeting up a storm criticizing CNN and NPR and all these corporate media outlets who are apparently, they have a plethora of resources, but not enough to send one reporter, not a one, down to Cannonball or Standing Rock. They can't be bothered to send anyone down there to find out the truth for themselves. So they literally report on TV as well as online, protesters lit up cars on fire and started fires, or protesters shot off grenades. This is literally reports coming from CNN, NPR, New York Times. They don't have anyone down there. They don't have anyone down there. You know why they're reporting that? Because the police say so. They report what the police tell them as fact. That's not journalism, that's propaganda. I don't report what the police say because I've been there. This is my 5th time I'm going, and I know the police lie pretty much the entire time because I've gotten confirmation that they're lying from my own eyes. And by the way, the Young Turks, although very successful, has a lot less resources than CNN or New York Times, and they're sending me for the 5th time. And I'm going on Thanksgiving because this is an important story where CNN, MSNBC, in response to a young woman possibly having her arm amputated, shot with a grenade by police. Did you see anything on CNN today about that, or the New York Times? I defy you to Google it and show me a corporate media outlet that is reporting on Sophia and her status. It's usually I rant, but I'm not going to rant. A, I'm in an airport and there's people around, but B, at this point, I'm less angry and I'm more just disgusted. And it's sad at the state of affairs. You know, I read a story on CNN.com yesterday where you have, in the first paragraph, they just report as fact, water protesters started multiple fires. And then 2 nights ago. And then 4 paragraphs down, they say, police say protesters started 4 fires. Your job isn't to be a stenographer that says, well, the police tell me this and the protesters tell me this. No, your job is to go down there and find out who's lying. That's all journalism is. It's not to show both sides. It's to show which side is correct. That's what it's supposed to be. And the bottom line is, you know, a lot of times people talk about Donald Trump and how the media has allowed him to be normalized, which I agree with. So allowed his racism to be normalized, his fascism to be normalized, his corruption to be normalized. Well, when the media doesn't cover unarmed people getting shot in the face with rubber bullets, when the media doesn't cover a 21-year-old girl being shot with a grenade and her arm being lacerated and possibly amputated, you know what that does? That normalizes illegal war crime behavior from police. That's what it does. It normalizes it. You don't see this in Ferguson, and you don't see this in Baltimore. You want to know why? When there's giant protests like that, police don't do this shit because the media is all there. The media is all there. Police know if they start firing off grenades, if they start shooting people in the face or rubber bullets, you know what's going to happen? They're going to go to jail. Because there's cameras all over the place from CNN and MSNBC and the New York Times and whatever. But the police here can act with total and free impunity because there is no media there. I'm there and I'm doing everything I can. Democracy Now! Has been there. There's a lot of independent journalists there that you've never heard of but are doing a great job. One of them is the reason we were able to get that great video up quickly from 2 nights ago. But the bottom line is a 21-year-old, and I'm just mentioning her, there were over 200 people are wounded and have been in and out of medic tents at a makeshift camp in North Dakota. By the way, there was an elder gentleman who went into cardiac arrest during the standoff. I don't have confirmation, but I've heard from multiple people that they could not find a pulse at one point. Luckily, he was able to be revived, but that's an elderly person. You have reports of elderly people being frozen to death to the point where they could not hold their bowel movements. All this is going on. Again, I'm not saying it's incorrect that media should not send all of their troops, anchors, reporters, when there's riots in Ferguson or riots in Baltimore. They should. But why is it that they do it for those stories, but not this story? You want to know why? Because there's an oil company involved. That's why. Comcast, the parent company of NBC, now AT&T, the parent company of CNN. It used to be Time Warner, now it's AT&T. They're all in bed with big oil, big banks. That's how this revolving door works. So they don't, an oil company, I'm sure this pipeline is fine. We don't need to send someone there. We got to cover Trump. He was elected, and now we got to cover who's coming in and who's out, who's coming in and out of Trump Tower, and we got to cover Mike Pence being booed at a Broadway show, and la, la, la. It's absurd. Let me tell you something. TYT Politics, what you're watching right now, is me, Emma, and Eric. Okay, so that's 3 people. And we're able to cover news of the day, politics, corporate Democrats falling apart, cover Trump and the craziness he's doing. Emma just did a video on TYT Politics about Trump's scam of an infrastructure plan. We're able to cover all that with 3 people. CNN, MSNBC, what's your excuse? And I'm going on my 5th time down there. And again, this isn't like to pat myself on the back. I'm not so great. But the point is, it's about will. It's not about resources. Young Turks has less resources than all the people I'm talking about. It's about the will, and it's about the moral choice as a journalist. What is a story? what does the public not only have a right to know, but need to know. But you're going to keep seeing this stuff if media doesn't come down there, because police can operate with total freedom, total immunity, because they know there's no eyes on them. I want to read you how you could set up, how you could help fund Sophia. www.gofundme.com/30AEZXS. I'm going to read that again. www.gofundme.com/30AEZXS. I also want to give you a donation page to the medics at Standing Rock Camp. They've gone through a lot of supplies trying to treat hundreds of injured people at the hands of the oil police. So I'm going to give you the information. If you can donate, great. If you can't, share this video. Do whatever you can. So these are the medics. I think there's maybe a handful of medics at the whole camp that are treating hundreds of people. One of them I know. Her name's Dee Dee, and she's doing this with pneumonia, helping people. So these medics deserve a lot of credit as well. Medic, MEDIC, healer, council.com. So it's medichealercouncil.com. Again, medichealercouncil.com. And there's one last thing I want to say. Obama is the president till January 20th, last time I checked. He ran a campaign to, slamming dumb wars. A large reason he beat Hillary Clinton in the Democratic primary was his opposition to the Iraq War. Well, I got news for you, Mr. President. There's actually a war going on in North Dakota as we speak. And there's war criminals on one side and unarmed, peaceful people on the other. So if you take your responsibility as the commander-in-chief to protect against all foreign and domestic, capital, domestic enemies, I want you to go take a look at the pictures of this 21-year-old girl whose arm is pretty much lacerated. It might have to be amputated. Up until this point, it has not been. I want you to take a picture, look at that. I want you to look at people, elders, young people, middle-aged people, all freezing to death because police were allowed to fire off freezing water at them in 23-degree weather. I want you to take a look at video, if you watch TYT Politics, great, of a man getting shot in the head by a rubber bullet and half his scalp ripped off. This is not proportionate response to peaceful demonstrations. And for the media, I want you to take a look in the mirror and actually ask yourself, why the hell are you doing this job? Is it to coast through life, make a good paycheck, have a lot of Twitter followers? Because that's essentially what you are doing right now. When you have CNN reporting what the police tell them as news and as facts, when you have MSNBC doing the same thing, when you have the New York Times writing stories that say nothing other than, well, the police say this, and the protesters say this. We're too lazy to figure out what the actual truth is, so you figure it out. It's really, what's going on here is pretty much on the level with the media's failure to report in the build-up to the Iraq War, which the media, which cheerleaded for the Iraq War before we went, is one of the biggest reasons we went to the Iraq War, because George W. Bush and his cronies were allowed to put us into a fake war with no accountability, no tough questions, and no critical eye. And the difference now is this, actually, you know the one similarity? It's all over oil. Apparently oil handcuffs our media and our politicians from doing what is right. Luckily, I don't have that problem. Young Turks isn't in bed with oil. I would never take a cent from oil. Bottom line is, it's up to you, folks. You know how I roll. I don't tell you what to do. I don't tell you how to vote. I'm not going to tell you to donate. If you don't want to donate, I'm not going to tell you to do anything. It's up to you. I can only do so much. I'm going there. I flew from New York to Chicago. Now I'm flying from Chicago to North Dakota. I have a one-way ticket, so who knows how long I'll be there. I'm definitely going to be there through Thanksgiving, which my Mama Sheridan is not happy about, but what are you going to do? I told her this is an important story. But the bottom line is, it's up to you. It's up to you. I saw protests yesterday outside CNN Atlanta. We've seen protests outside CNN LA. But what about protests outside the New York Times? What about protests outside your local officials who aren't saying this? I haven't heard a word from new Democrat minority leader Chuck Schumer. I haven't heard a word from him on this. Obviously, you haven't heard a word from Donald Trump, who's got $2 million invested in this pipeline. It's up to you to hold people accountable, both your media and your politicians, because if they're not held accountable, I'm sorry to say, people are going to get killed. I don't say that to scare you. That's just how things are. That's how things are moving here. I'm going to do a Facebook post as I get off of here. I'm going to give you links to donate to Sophia. I'm going to give you links to donate to the main camp, Osheti Sakoan. I'm going to give you phone numbers that you could call. I'm going to give you everything you need. And then it's up to you. I appreciate you watching. I appreciate you sharing this video. It's important to get the message out there. It's important to get the truth out there. If you haven't seen the videos we've done in recent days that show the grisly and horrific signs, the horrific pictures and video from what happened 2 nights ago, I implore you to go watch it. YouTube.com/TYTpolitics. We have 3 videos up from there. I am headed to Standing Rock. I will be on Twitter as best I can. I will be on Facebook as best I can. The Wi-Fi there is not good. The cell service is not good, but I will do my best. Thank you for watching.